So talk about the mistakes that made us. That's very interesting. I mean, I saw when that came out, I was like, oh my gosh, what a great idea. What inspired that? How did you come around to that as a topic?
There's a couple, I think, really strong influences. One is, thinking back to ideas and principles that are core to the Toyota production system and lean when it comes to built-in quality. We rely on mistake proofing instead of demanding that people be perfect. We're all human. We're all prone to making mistakes, and so we need systems, processes, technologies, things that help protect us from committing human error. And that, just waiting to punish people and blame individuals is not the best strategy for quality. So I think, that foundation is there. And then one of my pandemic projects in the summer of 2020, I mean, I've been podcasting, doing my lean podcast for 19 years. And I decided I didn't feel ready to write another book. A lot of people wrote books during the pandemic. I decided to start a new podcast series. And that ended up being a podcast called My Favorite Mistake. And, interviewing executives, leaders, actually two sitting members of Congress, one from each party. I'd like to think admitting a mistake and telling a story about how you grew from that is a nonpartisan issue, I'd like to think.
Well, wait a minute. So you were saying, because I didn't see those, and you're telling me that politicians were actually willing to admit they made mistakes?
I found two.
Wow. Okay. Good work.
That was one thing we talked about is like, why, do you fear that the public or voters would punish you for admitting a mistake? And no, I don't think that that harmed them. So, I was doing that podcast, and I mean, I'd like to think I'm good at finding patterns and connecting dots between things. And, after doing maybe about 100 episodes in the first year plus, it said, well, I think there are some themes and some patterns. And one of my guests actually asked me, well, are you doing this podcast because you want to write a book? So that planted the idea. And I made the mistake of not remembering exactly who that was because it was done after recording. There's no evidence of that. But so that turned into a book. And years ago, I started more formally studying the body of work related to psychological safety and the role of leaders in cultivating that. So the mistakes that make us as a book weaves in a lot of those podcast stories. It's a gentle introduction to some lean principles for people that might not want to pick up a book about lean. It's an introduction to psychological safety to people that might not want to pick up a book about that. So, the book's been, I think well received, and it was a real honor to receive another Shingo Publication Award.